And you got to tell me, New York.
Yes,
Did
sir.
those lights inspire you?
They did. They did. In a big way. The crazy people inspired me too to make sure I got back to work, you know? So I wasn't trying to be Mickey Mouse with the head up, trying to ask people for money to take pictures, and Spider-Man giving people pounds, but you had to pay him to do that. So it was interesting. Had one guy. Actually, I was doing one of our trivias in Times Square, and this guy was standing up on some pedestal, taking his shirt off, and his girlfriend was taking pictures of him. And it's like, 38 degrees, probably 100,000 people around, but whatever. This is just a good spot.
We need to
And
bring
then,
him on as a guest, maybe.
what's that?
We should bring him on as a guest.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then we had one guy that was doing his own karaoke, trying to sing some Drake tracks, and he had his phone in front of him, so he had all the words, and he was still missing about 80% of them. So
it's freestyle at that point. It's not even.
He would definitely not be doing best I ever had.
New York is an interesting place. I feel like a lot of those folks get in our comment section on our trivia questions too, obviously.
They definitely do.
My favorite to date has been the guy that didn't know that we were recording live and was like, this is content. Y'all are just nodding while this guy asks a question. And I'm like, yeah, because we record it all three together. like I don't even know how to respond to stuff like that. Although I will say this, look, on Facebook, there may not be a lot of people coming in watching us live on Facebook, but those folks in the comment section are committed, and it's impressive. I had Facebook open today on my PC, and I never do that. Josh and I were actually testing an idea for the show, and I get an alert every time, while it's open on my laptop. I'm telling you, guys, it was like every 10 seconds.
Yes.
I'm like, so if y'all have notifications on your cell phones, I apologize to you guys who have also logged into the page, because it is too much to keep up with at this point. Even between the three of us, it is ridiculous how quickly these folks are responding. I'll take the good one.
Yeah, it's like it's gotten beyond being able to be covered in one episode now. The comment section. We made that joke the last couple of weeks that we could make episodes off the comment section. Nah, I couldn't do that. It'd have to be like a 5-part series.
We'll have to be going live Monday through Friday. We'll be like the Pat McAfee show before you know it. That's what it's going to turn into, just from sheer trivia guesses. I will say, I think everyone who doesn't just Google the trivia question and they actually guess it, it makes it interesting. But please quit fighting in our comments.
Yeah. Although it is pretty entertaining to see some of the fights.
It is. I mean, you're not fighting with me, so I guess I shouldn't care.
and what we like from you listeners when you go into the comment section is we want to be able to hear what were you thinking? Because a lot of times in pregame when we're going over these trivias, it's like one of the things we're talking about is I was thinking this, and it's really interesting just to hear thought process, because you get other people I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, there was actually a lot of that with the Deion Sanders question last week. A lot of people are like, oh man, I didn't think about the Giants, So yeah, definitely have fun with it, guess. Why do we have to Google everything, right? Pretend like it's back in 1988 when if you needed to know something, you had to look in the World Book of Knowledge, and more than likely that answer isn't in there. So just use your brain and think about who it may be.
So one of my favorite trivia questions that we've had is the irony of the trivia question. It's recent, right? It was the only NFL helmet with the plant on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Crago's recording in front of a bunch of upside down floral de lis, like behind him. The wallpaper is covered in them. And I'm sitting there like, that's probably why the first three people answered the Saints. They probably think that we were like really crafty and like superimposed that. Nope, that's just your wallpaper. It's right there on there. It's just all over the backdrop completely. The one plant on an NFL helmet. I don't know if you purposefully did that, but that was clever if you did.
Yeah, I was about
Who knows,
to
the answer
say that would be
might
masterful
the Chicago
situational
skyline.
irony.
You never know.
Yeah, masterful situational irony.
Right. I would like to think it was planned. However, I think it was just seizing the moment because that's where he was recording at. See, y'all have no idea where I'm recording from, period. I've got the backdrop behind me, so, you know, you don't know. I could
Ladies
be in
and
my mom's basement.
Gentlemen, I think it's a tent.
It's a tent. Yes, which is still mobile, so you still don't know where I'm recording from. I have a green one back here. Maybe I'll swap one day. Go green. Somewhere. Is there a green one back here? Oh, well, that's fine. This is how I'm going to do the rest of the podcast. This is good. All right.
Rod,
I can't see the green
back
one.
to the New York stuff, man. Like, we had been looking at tickets for the Knicks game, and they were really expensive, relatively speaking. I mean, to be in the nosebleeds, like 416, you know, you're in the end zone as high up in the garden as you can possibly be. And then we were on a tour our first day there, and I said to myself, you know what? Why don't you just look for the tickets where you would want to sit potentially? And I did that, and the cost difference was only like $40 a ticket. And I was like, wait a minute. I can either sit in the end zone at the top of the arena, or I can sit kind of across from the visitors bench in the 200 section and have really good seats. And I was like, you know what? Let's just pull the trigger. Let's just do it. And in that moment, I was like a little kid, man. I was so excited. I can't believe I went 45 years without going to Madison Square Garden. It was the coolest experience I've had in a live event in a very long time. And of course, if you listeners saw the game, it was amazing.
Yes.
It came down to the final shot and went into overtime, you know, prior to that. So Knicks fans definitely do a great job of cheering on their team. That's for sure. That place was rocking like 1998.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a definite bucket list of mine, Madison Square Garden. We keep getting these millions of views. The next time, Crago, you're gonna have seats next to Spike Lee.
That's right. Absolutely. Spike, if you're listening, man, I'm available. I'll fly back up there for you, man.
You know, that was my first thought. Like, so Josh and I share a cheapness about, well, everything, but specifically ticket purchases. And whatever I saw you got the tickets, you sent us, you know, the I'm going to the game text. That's my first thought. I really wanted to be like, so how much? Like that's seriously where my thought was. But I thought I would play cordial, not ask, because I didn't want to know, honestly, because I think my heart would have hurt a little bit. But again, Madison Square Garden's on my bucket list, but it's for the WWE, not for the NBA.
Yeah. Hey, would it be for a pay-per-view or for a like Raw anniversary event?
I think I'd rather do Raw anniversary events than a pay-per-view.
I agree.
But in Madison Square Garden with a pay-per-view, you're not going to have a bad seat. It's not a big enough venue to have a bad seat. Like some of these pay-per-views that you have in the WWE, the seat is just so far away that it's like, like WrestleMania in LA this year, like, you know, you could probably get a ticket for $100 and go, but you're not going to see anything. You're still going to have to watch it on your cell phone.
So I have a wrestling question for y'all real fast.
All right.
So I haven't been to a wrestling event since probably 1998. And even then, that was like something at Universal Studios, Florida, and it was really not good.
That was like NWO era.
What's that?
That was like NWO era.
Yes, exactly. But the last time that I went to a televised event, I just thought it was so corny how they would like stop in the middle and get the crowd to be involved and stuff rather than just like fighting the whole time. Do they still do that, or how does the live event play out?
No, I mean, to me, like, you know, when you're on a commercial break, if it's between matches or if it's just crap that they're showing, you know, replay that they're not showing in house, they have little special ways to pump up the crowd, like, you know, for lack of a better term, the kiss cams and those kinds of things like that they do between matches. But while a match is going on, they never cut the action. Nope. In fact, the WWE, I can't remember, I think it's SmackDown, which is on Fox, has went to the picture-in-picture. So like correct. Commercial and then small wrestling still going on. Like while something's going on. Now, again, if there's no action, you know, it cuts to a commercial and you do like the stuff, you know, they bring out the kid that won the contest for best dressed or, you know, whatever time they have to kill. But that's what they do. It's much different than the way it was back in the day.
Very different now. And in fact, AEW is also one of them that they always do the picture-in-picture now for their commercial breaks.
Yeah, NXT, I believe, was the one that started that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I used to work out watching NXT on Tuesday nights. I'd have the little cell phone going, but ride the bike in the house. But NXT's too long. I about died. 2-hour TV show. That's way too long to work out, too.
And it would be like 2 matches in those 2 hours. It'd be like it's like a match that never ends.
Right. All right, gentlemen, let's get to tonight's topic.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, playoffs, guys. What this weekend? I don't know what the big topic of conversation. Where do you start? Do you start with the first game? You know, because the 49ers just completely destroyed the Seahawks in the second half of that game. It was a decent first half game. In fact, they were holding strong throughout all the playoffs. If you total up the points that all the other teams won by, you still didn't have as many points as the 49ers won by until the last game, which we knew that was going to be, you know, pretty bad. But, you know, what amazed me was all the topics of Tom Brady, you know, they're going to be winning, you know, they're going to win on Monday night. Like, in what world did anybody think that was going to happen for real?
No. That's only because they played the Cowboys. Had it been any other team, they would have been expected to lose. But since it was the Cowboys,
I mean, that's the worst matchup. Now the Cowboys, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they have a really bad last game?
They got blown out by the Commanders.
Yeah, they're by the Commanders.
Yeah, I was thinking that they had a really bad, and maybe that's what led to the conversation of even potentially the Cowboys losing that one. Although I will say that that a friend of mine who may or may not be a pastor at a church said out loud, recorded on Facebook, I need to grab the sound bite of him saying this. He's a Cowboys fan, and you know, for January he's fasting the news and social media and stuff like that. And he's like, you know, I'm just trying to get a mental break from things. He's like, I don't even care because the Cowboys, they're just going to get beat by the 49ers in the playoffs anyway. And so I really want to find that soundbite.
It's going to be prophetic.
It very well could be. I mean, the game hasn't been played. I will say I was a little more scared of the Seahawks than I am the Cowboys. I have no reason as to why I thought that, but I really do.
I think you're good on that. This is not 1993 and Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and Emmitt Smith going into Candlestick Park. It's just not. So I think you're going to be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So what about the Eagles? How do y'all like that matchup?
I honestly believe I think the Giants are gonna pull the stunner. I really do.
Dimes looked like a football player this weekend.
He did, didn't he?
Wow. And that also shows you how bad the Minnesota Vikings are on defense.
Did I not call that way back that if there's any favorite that was gonna lose in the wild card round, it would be Minnesota.
That's right. And I mean,
yeah, they
couldn't have played much better.
Yeah, that game was interesting. It was definitely entertaining, and I hate that it comes down to, just a few points at the end, because you're like, oh, if they have one more minute, maybe the outcome's different. I don't know, but
although a 3-yard pass on 4th and 8 to your tight end, really?
Yeah, that one.
I mean, come on, man.
It's one of those things sometimes, like as a quarterback, you can say you're a game manager or whatever, but your goal is to advance the football to the next person, right? I know we can all sit here and be like, oh, that was a stupid call. Obviously it was a stupid call because we know how it ended up. But he breaks that tackle, he gets the first down, suddenly now it's the most amazing play ever.
Guts.
Yeah, exactly. Such a ballsy move to throw 3 yards and let your receiver catch. That's what it's all about, is yards after the catch. And that would be the narrative that we would see all over ESPN. And, it would just be a whole different world. But I don't know.
It works pretty well for Deebo Samuel.
Yeah. Right.
But see, again, Deebo Samuel is a big difference between him and your tight end. I mean, it's one of those things. If you're going to throw a 3-yard pass to somebody and take that chance, could it at least be Justin Jefferson?
Or Dalvin Cook?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or Marshawn Lynch. Wait, no, that he didn't get the ball. That was the problem on that one. Yeah. He missed Marshawn Lynch. He didn't hand it off.
Tom Brady is still giving him royalties on not touching it.
That's the thing. For real, though, on that drive, Pete Carroll even said it. Hey, you complete the pass, you score the touchdown, everybody calls me an offensive genius. It's an interception. I look like an idiot. And also Ellen DeGeneres. He didn't say that part, but I had fun with that. The fact that Pete Carroll looks like Ellen DeGeneres. Every day, more and more, as time goes by, Pete Carroll looks more like Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah, he's like a cross between him and Owen Wilson.
Right. Ellen DeGeneres and Owen Wilson had a child. And it was Pete Carroll.
Yes.
I did hear a soundbite of a referee and an umpire talking after that play, and they were just basically saying to each other, "Can you believe they didn't hand the ball to Marshawn Lynch? Like, he was running all over the Patriots." And then they just stopped. Oh, speaking of Patriots, Eric Knowlton just tuned in. He is a huge Patriot fan, so
day one,
he's quite excited by that play call to the Western Alabama alum.
The play call wasn't to my man from Livingston. He just made a name for himself, and that's all it took. None of us knew the name Malcolm Butler, and we all live in Alabama.
Correct.
But now we can name him. Mm-hmm. Like, if you saw Malcolm Butler in the streets, you'd be like, there's the guy right there. High five, buddy.
I think he was more surprised to get that pass than we are to know that he was at Western Alabama.
Right.
That's right.
What? Wow. Thanks.
And not the Alabama school that's in the west of Alabama, literally the University of West Alabama, Livingston. Yes. We're not talking about the Crimson Tide here. We're talking about I don't know their mascot, probably Wildcats or something like that.
I think, what are they, like, maybe like Bulldogs or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, probably.
Did Tyreek Hill go there as well, or South Alabama?
That was a South Alabama guy, right? Yeah. They're the Jaguars. Yeah. I know that team.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So this is crazy. We started out with the Giants on a 3-yard pass on 4th and 8 and ended up talking about the Patriots. Y'all believe that?
No, that's the natural digression of that topic.
I mean, we're in the NFL playoffs, and they practically own like the last 20 years of NFL playoffs.
There we go. Carter Slappy said West Alabama Tigers.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Go with that.
Sanford, that's Bulldogs. So, yeah, Tigers. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, both of us were close, I guess, in the generic mascot. I think maybe I was a little closer. Wildcat, Tiger. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know. All right. So AFC, do we want to even talk about those guys in the
two
playoffs?
choke jobs?
So as I told y'all, I watched all of the games, but I didn't start watching all of them until like at least 10 o'clock at night each night. And so I was watching the Chargers-Jags game, and I was about this close to turning it off when it was 27-0. I was just like, man, sleep is more important. I should just go to bed. And I was like, well, I'll give it one more drive. And when they scored that touchdown to make it 27-7 at the end of the first half, something just felt weird, Drew. Kind of like when Mississippi State scored in the last drive against Auburn last year. When I think we were up 28-3. Sorry, Falcon fans.
No.
It just felt like we were in trouble. And leave it to old Staley to he didn't get fired today, did he?
No.
Okay.
I
saw something on ESPN that said I didn't think I was going to get fired, or I wasn't coaching like I was going to get fired. But I didn't click on the article. So yeah.
The saddest part about it is, it would have been like horrible. Let's say if it was Kansas City or Buffalo. But it's almost understandable, right? If they go on the run, in retrospect, they're probably a superior team to yours. So some things could happen. They get momentum, and voila, they come back. But Jacksonville, 27-0.
4 picks in the first half.
I mean, this is not like Tom Brady in his prime in the playoffs. This is my first time ever here. I've just thrown 4 picks, and I overcome that to beat a team that's supposed to be better.
Exactly.
Look, I think there's one wild card factor here that we're missing out, and you guys probably are think I'm going with the Trevor Lawrence never loses on Saturday thing, right? But I'm not going there. I'm not going there at all because here's the thing about the Trevor Lawrence doesn't lose on Saturday thing. I don't give a crap about that because our quarterback doesn't lose. So whatever. and here's the thing though. It was Mama Bosa's fault. And here's why. Okay? I'm not blaming Joey Bosa. I'm literally blaming his mother because she had to choose to go see one son play versus the other, right? And so she chose to go see Joey Bosa play, and Nick's like, no, I understand. I get it. I know what Nick meant by that. Because I know know what he's thinking is, it's okay, Mom. You can come see me next weekend because he's not going to be playing the next weekend. That's what he meant. So Mama Bosa's presence, and who lost them the game ultimately? You might blame it on everything in the world, but if it wasn't for the 15-yard penalty, that game doesn't get lost, I don't think. I'm just throwing that out there. Joey Bosa self-sabotaged himself. He got into his own head and ruined the whole game. Not to mention he didn't do anything hardly on defense. I think he came up with 1 tackle the whole game or something like that. Now, I will give him 100%. That guy was offsides, and I would be upset. But, you know, you gotta maintain your anger there and not get your 15-yard penalty to ruin the game.
Right.
It was all about Mom.
Yep. Mama Bosa, that's what did him in. That was not a lucky charm.
No.
So our boy Kevin Franz is tuning in. So I know as a Chiefs fan, he's pretty pumped right now to see old Trevor Lawrence and his gold locks come up to Kansas City this weekend.
I'm sure he's got a seat there, front and center to see it.
Oh, yes.
I think if I'm a Chiefs fan, that's like a perfect playoff game, right? You've got to play the Jaguars at home. Like, I can't even say that without laughing.
Yep.
Oh, he does have.
Yes, there you go. I knew it, man.
There he is. You know, it's crazy because the Chiefs were, oh, Kevin, let's go, man. I'm ready. We're going to Atlanta. I actually talked to a buddy this weekend who lives in Atlanta because I was trying to find tickets for the AFC Championship if both the Chiefs and the Bills win this weekend. So, Kevin, let's go, man. Come down. We'll go together. I'm ready. But
I think there's a good chance for that one. Chiefs game is you know, no biggie. I'm a little worried about the Bills.
I think they're going to be good here simply because obviously the emotion, it's an adjustment here. Because honestly, I think the Bengals would have beat them if that Monday night game continued out. And obviously, we didn't have happen what happened. But I mean, you look at the offensive line problems the Bengals have right now, and I mean, they were literally the Ravens bailed them out. Okay, in this game here, I don't think that's going to happen in Buffalo.
RJ Jefferson over the top from the 3-yard line.
I mean, that's literally just inventing a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, which I had told you, Craig, this was going to happen. I said 2 weeks before the end of the season, Baltimore's season would end with 2 straight losses to the Bengals. Did I not?
Yeah, you did. And guess who was on the bench for that play? J.K. Dobbins.
Yes.
The workhorse is on the bench when you're on the 3-yard line. It was first and goal, right?
And you know, I'm a Ravens fan, so obviously I've had my chance to rant all week about this. But you put in 3 blocking backs behind you, and usually when that happens in a goal line situation, it's to push the quarterback. So at what point do you think it's a good idea to go over the top when the package calls for extra blockers to push you in the end zone? So that was doomed to fail.
Right after they had compared him to Lamar Jackson, the play before that when he ran all the way down to the 2-yard line.
Speaking of Lamar Jackson, I think the only thing in positive that came out of that from a Ravens perspective is Lamar Jackson's value is cemented in him getting paid now.
On what team, though?
Yeah, I was just – it may not be with the Ravens.
Yeah, because for John Harbaugh not to say that he wasn't playing because he was injured, but rather that he just wasn't going to be playing, that's pretty significant. And one of the talking heads on ESPN said, I think it was Orlovsky, he said, I don't want to comment on Lamar Jackson not being at the game unless I know if he went to the other road games while he was injured. Because it reminded me very much, as y'all know, I'm a big Orlando Magic fan, And when Penny Hardaway hurt his knee in Orlando, I literally was behind him playing golf, right? And if you haven't played golf, there's a lot of pressure on the knees when you're playing golf. And that night I went to the Magic game, and guess who wasn't at the Magic game?
Of course, Penny Hardaway wasn't there.
Hardaway, right? So if the star player, the leader of the team, doesn't even show up for the game, I mean, we're not talking about the regular season, right? We're talking about the playoffs. Playoffs? We're talking about the playoffs here. How does he not show up to at least support his team?
Yeah.
Even if he hadn't gone to the regular season games. I don't know,
somebody
man. We'll see what
that really has his mind on being a Raven.
Yep.
So where do you think he will land? Like, where do you, in your heart of hearts, think he's going to land?
I mean, all I can go with is Vegas, right? They're never wrong.
Vegas, unless they go after
Plus
Tom Brady.
Jets. It's got to be the Jets. I have no idea. No idea. The Ravens are stupid if they move on from him. But as Rex Ryan said the other day, they moved on from Hollywood Brown when he was their best receiver. They moved on from Orlando Brown, right? He's on the Chiefs. And they got first-round draft picks for him. They're saying that they could potentially get 3 first-round draft picks for Lamar Jackson.
Eric Knowlton just talked about the Vikings. But, yeah, I mean, from a business decision right now, it would probably be better to not be with the Ravens simply because, like you just said, they've just leased out offensive weapons and they don't acquire any. I mean, how many years have we been saying now that their go-to receiver is Andrews at tight end? I mean,
right. Sammy Watson was in the news, and I didn't even realize that he was back on the Ravens.
Yeah,
like that's who's talking.
I think Lamar Jackson's going to end up with the Raiders. That's what I think. I'm going Vegas.
Vegas?
Yeah, I think he's going.
You mean it's not going to be Tom Brady?
Man, that guy, like, I think, like, as a big joke, deep down in everybody's heart of hearts, they just want to see Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady both play at the 49ers next season. That's what everybody truly wants. I hear your whispers. I know where you want him to go. Oh, we got Kevin France saying Brady to the Saints. You know what? Go for it. I would love to see Brady at the Saints.
I mean,
I would love it.
Until this year, he couldn't beat them, so I guess that would be a can't beat them, join them situation.
Yeah, I think so. Hey, the Saints could actually use him for real, though.
We won't have to see Jameis Winston licking his fingers telling he's going to eat a W, if y'all remember that. Oh, Kevin said A-Rod to the Raiders.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can see Rodgers to the Raiders. My man Isaac Rochelle just ended up at the Raiders. I don't know if y'all been following the drama on TikTok. He actually liked my post where I said he would end up at the Chargers or the Raiders, and he ultimately ended up at the Raiders. So got to say I called that one. I knew that family, like with Allison Cooch as your wife. I mean, you got to end up in Vegas. I feel like that's the only logical move that made sense. That's the only reason why I predicted it. And sure enough, they went there. And man, she's on the sidelines like every freaking game. Well, he's only like had 2 games, but yeah, they were there, and it was good stuff. So yeah. Shout out to Isaac Rochelle. I'm sure he'll be back next season playing for him too.
Well, speaking of answers and predictions, Craig, go. This is what everybody wants to see right now.
Everybody wants.
What do you have for us in trivia? What's the questions?
Oh yes, I got a couple good ones today. So we'll start off with the first one, which is there is only one mother-son duo to each win a gold medal in the Olympics? Name that mother and son.
That's going to get people thinking right there.
That's a tough one. It really is.
Yes. And
guys, remember, don't Google.
A loyal listener, Brent Keating, for that one. He hit me with that. So there you go, y'all. It's all about engagement with our audience. So if you have a good trivia question that you don't think anybody will know, or it's going to cause a lot of people to fight over Facebook and or TikTok, bring it on, and we'll shout it out and give you a plug.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely give you a plug on that one. And like we've always said, there's nothing better than getting the comment section stirred up.
That's right.
We're also on Instagram too, but those folks over there are like, a mattress. They just drop their answers and go to the house. I don't know what the deal is.
There you go. And the second one is, who is the all-time leading scorer in Nets history?
There should be some good answers here.
All-time leading scorer in Nets history.
Nets history.
And what I'm talking about here is these points were only scored while they were wearing a Nets jersey.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like that. I like
So
that clarification right
they
there.
were on the Nets and they had the most points scored for any player that ever played with the Nets at any point in their career. This is strictly while on the New Jersey
on the team.
Brooklyn Nets.
While on the team.
Yep. That's right.
That's good stuff.
There you go. And there's the trivia for today.
I expect a lot of really different answers for that one.
All the people listening, you got something for us? Without Googling.
That's the real key right there.
I don't know. That Nets history might give you the wrong answer by Googling it. If you look at, it's kind of like, have you seen the guys that play the games that's like, I'm going to pick 20 quarterbacks off of each team, and and it like has the randomly generated teams above their heads. Have y'all ever seen that? So it's like a button that you press, press the button, it generates the team, and like it lands on like the Chargers. And if you had to pick any quarterback throughout the history of the Chargers, like who would you pick? Yeah. Yellow Pages UDAX.
All right, Kevin. TQC.
Yeah, I mean, like, unfortunately, the folks that created the Yellow Pages UDAX were bad at that trivia.
Right. We all called it something different.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, I remember when I worked at Domino's, like when I was in college or whatever, like you had to type a letter on the keyboard for the pizza toppings, and like your P was pepperoni, your H was ham, and then like R was black olives. And we're like, what? And it's like, well, it can't be B because B's beef. And it's like, R? Well, it was the only letter left. But R? What? It's kind of how that worked, right?
I mean, if you like started pressing a whole bunch of different buttons, you get the whole like this program is performing the illegal operation and will shut down immediately.
And went back to the old DOS prompt. So what it did to reboot the whole entire the whole store had to reboot. It wasn't even just your computer. You messed something up that bad, everybody. You went back and unplugged it and plugged it back in.
It was like Y2K all over again.
Exactly, Y2K. And a reboot back then was like a serious reboot, not I just hit restart, I'll be back up and running.
Yeah,
in 90
it was
seconds.
a serious reboot because when you flip the power switch, the lights dimmed. Like, the kids these days don't know anything about old computing. Yeah. Like the place where your computer was 10 degrees warmer than the rest of your house because all the hot air coming off of it.
Yeah.
The way it works.
And now they have so much more in the palm of their hand,
Right.
Yep.
Right. Dad, my phone's getting hot from playing Minecraft. We'll stop playing Minecraft.
No.
Like, it's that simple.
Yep.
Stop playing. Yeah, I've got a computer on fire before. You're not going to do that with your phone. So, all right, let's get back on topic. The trivia derailed us. Let's talk about it. All right, so we had an injury the other night. I'm a little fuzzy on the injury. Well, I saw the injury. It ended up being concussion neck injury from Gage, right?
Russell Gage.
And so this turned into different conversation, right? It wasn't just a concussion conversation, which we've had the concussion conversation till we're all blue in the face. It turned into a money conversation, right? So, Josh, what are people saying about the money in Gage's contract?
I mean, they're just saying that the NFL needs to go to a guaranteed contract. It's the only major sport that doesn't have guaranteed contracts. And I mean, there's a car accident that happens on every single play. Like at any point in your career, that can be the last snap, right? Damar Hamlin, did he think when he went to go tackle T. Higgins that could potentially be the last time he tackles somebody? Ryan Shazier, when he tackled whoever that was for the Cincinnati Bengals. Antonio Brown, when he went over the middle and Vontaze Burfict almost decapitated him. Yeah. And now we know what Antonio Brown has turned into. So, should they receive guaranteed contracts? My question to y'all is, should any sport receive a guaranteed contract? Andrew, do you have a guaranteed contract at your job?
No, not at all. I do not have a guarantee. I'm guaranteed that they'll probably fire me. No, I mean, I don't have a guaranteed contract at my job. It's a job, right? So every dollar I bring in, I get a part of that dollar. And that's the way 90% of the world works, right? If you bring in $1, then you get part of that dollar. If you're an injured NFL player, are you bringing in any more dollars? I think the answer to that question is no, you're not bringing in any more dollars. So it's simple as to why they don't do it. Is it right? I don't think it's right.
So and I'll play devil's advocate here. I mean, I don't know if it's really devil's advocate because there's really two components to that. First, the first thing you said, Craigo, was the fact that it's the only major sport right now where they don't have a guaranteed contract. The irony of that is it's the riskiest of the major sports, but it's the less secure of the contracts, which to me that's really just that's a true conflict. Like, how does this happen? So, I mean, from that perspective, I don't understand why you wouldn't have a guaranteed contract if it's relative to the fact that other sports do, right? So, but then you do have the other dynamic that we talk about with none of our jobs, we would have a guaranteed contract, especially from a standpoint of if I'm not able to produce, then I'm no longer deriving that income, right? So, but then at the same time, if you look at a professional athlete in any of these sports and you look at the billions of dollars that are generated by their abilities, that's over and above, let's say, what somebody in a normal corporate job would be able to just create. I mean, and not all athletes are created equal, but let's just say, just for instance, if a Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, Christian McCaffrey is generating more of an interest and more dollars than, say, somebody that's a third string, or second string special teams guy, right? So, and obviously the dynamics of those contracts is because Christian McCaffrey inherently creates and generates more value. So he stimulates the economy in a different way than that guy does. So then you do have kind of that the whole economics at play for if I'm in a position where I'm creating and more value to stimulate the economy or stimulate the industry, then, if for some reason I'm no longer able to generate income the way I had been, do I have any guarantees in place? And that's a fair question. But then also at the same time, like we've just said, I mean, even though it's a job the same way, whether it's a higher level job or you have a lower level job, at the point that you're no longer able to create and generate value for that said employer, which would be your team, then why would you have necessarily a guaranteed contract there when you're no longer able to create that value? So I just think that there's a lot of dynamics that you look at, and there's got to be some type of middle ground. Drew, Josh, what do you think?
Well, I think that, in this scenario, like you're talking about the Christian McCaffrey versus the third string guy. The third string guy is making $235,000 a year, right? I think that's the number, right? It's $235,000 is your minimum pay number. So, which I'm not saying is a crap load of money, because I grew out of that phase a long time ago. Like, I understand the sacrifice that these guys are making for $235,000 a year, and I wouldn't do it. But the thing is, though, is if I get hurt at my job, I don't know how that would happen, but if I got hurt at my job, I do have a backup plan, right? If something does happen where I don't, get to work anymore, and maybe it was even off the job, I still get 60% of my salary for the rest of my life, right? Now, I pay for that out of my paycheck. I'm not saying it's free. So my legitimate question is, like, do they not have that? Is this a moot conversation? Like, I mean, because if I'm on disability and my pay was $235,000 a year, I mean, $100,000 disability, like, I would make $100,000 to stay at home, which is actually more than $100,000. So if you have disability, like, yeah, sure, you're not a star anymore. Do they not have that option?
I don't think it's the same as it would be for somebody in a corporate setting, just simply because the risk of disability is so high in the NFL. I'm sure there's something.
More expensive, but you're making more money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because like Christian McCaffrey can go to Lloyd's of London and pay to have his legs insured. I don't have that option.
Correct.
Because I'm not making, a couple of million, right? I don't have that option.
But it's a very fair question, and not just a question. It's really a sensible thing right now.
But legitimately, though, like, if they have a disability insurance, then a guaranteed contract, I can see why they don't have it. Because I don't understand why I should give up my money as a franchise owner when the NFL Players Association should have an insurance policy to help the players out if they were to get disabled, right?
But yeah, I will say this: I do think that because we do have the guaranteed contracts, we're seeing a lot of it in the NBA. Oh, yeah, salary cap rules. That is a brilliant point. You're opening Pandora's box, I think, in the NFL when you do have the guaranteed contracts. Now, relative to what's going on in the other sports, that is sensible, but it's Pandora's box. And one of the things we talked about here is, let's even look at the lower levels, like in college football with this NIL stuff right now. Like, that's really a de facto, it's becoming almost a de facto guaranteed contract for a lot of these kids. At least they're interpreting that way. And now, like, things are going crazy.
That's for sure.
Oh yeah, you got that joker at Florida that is either gonna cause Florida to go on major NCAA violations or get paid, what was it,
$13 million to not go to the school. Jalen Rashada, the quarterback out of California.
So did he get any money from Miami back in November when he committed
there was a deal that he had an NIL deal with Miami. It was an agreement in principle. I don't think he signed anything yet, but he basically used that deal and shopped that deal with Florida, and Florida not only matched it, but exceeded it like 4 or 5 times what Miami was going to pay him. And so he went there. The story is that he tried to recruit as many players as he could to come with him to Florida. A lot of them didn't end up going with that. And so he was waffling to begin with. And so now it was one of those things where I guess he kind of found some legal loopholes and said, hey, I don't want to stay here anymore. And so just like Drew said, now you have a situation where he's backing out of his letter of intent that he signed. And he's doing it based off of the fact that I think the Florida Collective now, for some reason, may not be able to make good on that offer, which is just kind of crazy. And I know I'm a Bama guy, and I would like to think I'm a very objective Bama guy, but this does kind of give a lot of credence to some of the things that Nick Saban talked about is if you're going to pay players from a recruiting standpoint, it's going to open Pandora's box because you're going to have these type of situations all the time where this guy's like, I signed the deal. This deal is not contingent on me coming to the school. So I didn't decide to come to the school, but you're still going to give me the money.
I think that's a relatively easy thing to overcome when you're signing a contract, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's a name, image, and likeness contract, and they say that, I'm going to pay you X dollar amount. All you have to do in that contract would be say, here's how I'm going to use your name, image, and likeness. Mm-hmm. I want you to do 6 photo sessions. I want you to do, whatever, dance for me. I don't care. And I'm going to pay you $14 million. And then you go to some other school. That's great. Guess what? I'm going to ruin you at that school because those 6 photo shoots are all going to be on Saturday during your big games. Sorry.
And then also you could just say that this contract is voided out if for any reason you are no longer at the university.
No, you can't do that.
Oh.
That's the problem. Yeah. You can't do that. But that's what I'm saying. Point. If you had that contingent upon you showing up, me paying you to actually do something, then it's all said and done, right?
Yep. Yeah.
But the thing is that fund, the way that it's used is it's a collective of money to recruit players.
And that's where it's at right there. I've been a proponent of them being able to monetize what they're doing, but I'm a proponent of it, but you generating and creating value for yourself while you're at the university to merit being able to have the NIL deal as opposed to using it as a carrot to get somebody to come to a school that hasn't proven anything.
Exactly. I mean, think about the pressure that Billy Napier is under if Jaden ends up going to Florida.
It's pretty bad.
Now by Graham, what's his name? Graham Mertz or something from Wisconsin, who was like a 4-star, I believe, when he went to Wisconsin. Now, granted, he wasn't good at Wisconsin, but what if Napier creates a quarterback out of him? What if he's the next Danny Dimes, for Florida after they got Brian Dable, but Napier's going to be pressured to have Jaden on the field.
Yeah, we're paying him $13 million. He's our starter.
That's right.
How about that? And no matter how bad he is.
That's exactly right. It's a mess. So I'm all for exactly what you said, Rod. It's a pay for performance. It's not a pay for what you did in high school just to get you to come here. It's we'll pay you if you do a good job for us and you generate value for our university.
Yeah. I mean, and you've got kids even that Cormani McClain, the 5-star DB right now. That's he and his mom are just shopping offers around the schools just to see who can match what and what documentary I can get on. I mean, this is only going to become more and more normalized, and it's going to be just crazy.
And what's going to be crazy is when these stars completely fail, right? I mean, think about the mental health of like DJ Alungale or whatever, however you pronounce it.
Yeah, Uiagalelei.
I mean, he got that huge contract with Dr. Pepper, and then he was just fighting to be on the field. Mm-hmm. And now he's transferred from Clemson after being a Heisman hopeful.
Yeah,
Like
he's with like
Johnson
Oregon State now.
Those years.
But think about how well that'll actually bode for Auburn, so we don't end up with another turd like Jeremy Johnson playing for us. Because somebody will recruit right out from under us and offer him a ton of money, and then he can, you know, not do anything there instead of at our school. That was, you know, like that's, to me, that's the counterpoint to this. Like, you know, you wasted a scholarship. Might as well waste some money too, right? Like, I mean, you know, you can say what you want to about, oh, can you imagine whenever they go there and they're bad? Well, yeah, there's going to be a lot of those guys. But maybe that makes the NFL a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
I'm thinking like Jamarcus Russell, you know, doesn't happen because he messes up in college, you know, instead of in the NFL.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, but then again, if you get a Florida situation, I mean, this kid, like, let's say they say, well, we're going to restrict wherever you go. He's getting a coach's buyout. He could literally just stay at home after he graduates, and like he's got $13 million.
Which is enough money for anyone to live off of for the rest of their lives.
Exactly.
Given if he had the talent. I don't know anything about him, honestly, but if he had the talent, he could potentially make more money than that. Most likely he won't ever.
Correct.
That's right.
I mean, so that's your ultimate guaranteed contract.
I don't care if I get blackballed from the NFL at that point. Like, you can just not ever. I don't have to play football again if I've got $14 million. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't even care anymore. I don't care. Maybe they need to back that off, you know, a little bit. The money, maybe a couple 100,000 to these kids over 4 years. I mean, do we even know if we still give out scholarships anymore? Like, because I don't think that's a thing. Like,
yeah, I mean,
is a full ride scholarship to the University of Alabama really worth it? Like, I mean, you know, like, what's that valued at right now? About 100,000?
Yeah, that's about it.
You know,
versus,
like, I would just have to think that
deal.
Money that you can make being Alabama's starting quarterback way overvalues the full ride that you get or don't get because you end up transferring to Oklahoma.
I mean, it's getting to a place where some of these kids, after a while, it's like a pay cut to like declare for the draft.
Again, $250,000, right?
Yeah.
You're going in the fourth round. That's what you're getting. You're getting the league minimum.
Right.
And again, I think that's right. I really can't remember what the league minimum is right now. So please correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, it's just so weird because of the front end money just throws everything off and causes these guys to make very little on an annual basis because they got 60 million guaranteed or something up front, you know. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard to even figure out how much these guys are making. I mean, I remember when Mahomes signed that 10-year, $503 million deal, and they were saying that was a very friendly deal and that he was undervalued because, you know, they gave him so much money on the front end, and then they weren't going to be paying him much on an annual basis. It's so much money I can't even comprehend.
Well, I can tell you right now that cap hit in Madden 2023 is not very friendly. I can assure you of that. He is definitely doing okay. He outlived the short end of his contract. He is definitely all right. I think he ended up being the highest paid player in Madden 2023 this season, which again, contract numbers are still fuzzy on there. Sure. They're not always that accurate, but
State Farm.
Yeah, that's what I was
making a pretty good amount there too.
I mean, it's like, you know, any contract like that, you know, you take a guy that's very, you know, fairly straightforward, like a Nick Saban or a Lane Kiffin or something like that, and it's like, you know, that should be a dollar amount that they're getting paid, but it never is, right? Because it's so much this season, and it's going to increase next season, and it's going to increase the next season. But you have bonuses for winning games, you have endorsement deals that could come to fruition that may not, you know, depending on how popular your team is. You know, that's why you look on paper for years, Nick Saban was making over $10 million a year. And on paper, he was only looking like his contract was like $6 or $7 million that
Correct.
year, but he had all kinds of extras.
All the bonuses.
Yeah, that aren't just a part of your initial paycheck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, real quick, speaking of contracts, have you seen Lane Kiffin's contract?
I'm not.
Yes.
Go ahead.
My man literally gets paid for tying his shoes in the morning. It's crazy. I think he makes $50,000 if they make it to the Birmingham Bowl.
Wow.
I mean, literally, he makes money for everything. For SEC wins after the 5th one or something. For this bowl game, this conference champion, just participating in the conference. It is just so incentive laden. It's amazing. But it's so easy for him to just rack up hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I kind of wanted him at Auburn. I really did. I kind of did. And I actually said this on TikTok. I can find it. That I think that him leveraging Auburn to get a better contract out of Ole Miss was what he was doing. This was in the middle of the negotiations and everything. Come to find out, I was 100% spot on. That's exactly what he was doing. And I was like, yeah, he's going to make Auburn fans hate him. But after he crapped out at the end of that season and then got his beautiful contract, I mean, it's eloquent because he's guaranteed still like, what, $7 million a year or something stupid from Ole Miss. And plus all those incentives, like you said, that's just base level pay. I look at that contract and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, we did good to not – like, I can't even be mad. Like, I'm going to laugh every time Ole Miss loses this season, not because of hatred, but because of, like, it's just befuddling to me. Like, why would you do that?
There's never any reason for him to ever leave Ole Miss. Let's just be honest. I mean, Ole Miss really can't do any better because he's going to keep him in the news all the time. And I mean – even if he gets them on probation, I mean, it's Mississippian football. That's like almost probation in and of itself. So, I mean, so that's, and then for him, I mean, why would you go anywhere else? Nobody else is going to let you do whatever you want to do at that level. I understand that a lot of people think that down the road, he would love to have his eyes on that Alabama job if Nick Saban, whenever he rides off into the sunset. But why? I mean, that wouldn't even, for him, you can't ask for anything better. He can do whatever he wants to do, and he's getting paid for it.
Look, I don't even know how you can get NCAA sanctions against you anymore. Like, how's that even possible? Because, like, all sanctions from the past, like, decade, outside of the fact that Penn State shouldn't have a football team anymore, which that was, outside of a decade ago. But outside of that nonsense, like, what do you do? Everything else has been pay-for-play scandals.
I mean, the only thing they're doing now is like, they're slapping show clauses on coaches, but that's really about the extent of any punishment at this point.
Right.
Which,
like, I don't get how you could. Oh, the coach showed up to my door and offered me money. Yeah, so you can do that. Like, I'm going to get a truck for going to Tennessee. Great.
Yeah, we just call
you can do that.
An NIL deal.
Yeah, like it's a booster did that. Yeah, but that booster has a business, and that business is actually who gave you that money, so it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I took that truck to be a spokesperson for that company.
Yeah, it's cool. It's all good. It's all good. He's got his logo on the side. It's fine. Yeah. Like I don't even know. This is horrible, but I don't even know that the Hugh Freeze scandal is a scandal in the NIL world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's just part of the agreement. Yeah, that's a company that offered their services to my guys.
I mean, he's just marketing for
right.
him.
Right. Like, is that even a thing anymore?
No.
Like, that's where we're at now.
Yep, I remember when Freeze got Kimdichie, Treadwell, and Tunzel all in the same recruiting class, and I didn't even know who Hugh Freeze was. I was like, oh, okay. Wonder how that happened. But, hey, now it's legal, so. Come on, Freeze, step it up.
Right.
War Eagle.
He's going to do great. He's going to do great. That's like my dad. I forget what coach it was. I wish I could remember because it was old school coach. He coached at Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken, and got him put on probation 2 or 3 times. He said they were called the Sooners because sooner or later they'd be put on probation again. And then the guy went to the NFL. Whoever
Barry Switzer.
Thank you. Went to the NFL, and he's like, oh, he's going to do great. He can actually pay his players like he's been wanting to the whole time. And I'm like, oh, yep, there you go. Eric typed it in too.
Yeah.
He got one in Dallas, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jimmy spotted one.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, like, he literally just had to be a substitute teacher for a year and get a ring.
How Jerry Jones messed up that relationship with Jimmy Johnson, I'll never understand. But
well, he had to be the most important guy.
I don't know, man. That should have been like milk and honey. Could you imagine? If that would have lasted 5 more years?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately for you, Drew, then I don't know if Steve Young gets that ring for San Francisco that next season.
96, right?
Nah, that was the 94 season.
I don't know. We were we were still in it. We were duking it out. And that's the thing the reason why I say that is because if Jimmy Johnson stays and everything goes, above bar, just like it was going, like the 49ers declined, as soon as Young left, Steve Bono was our quarterback. He was, okay, I guess. Then Bono ended up going to the Chiefs with Montana anyway. At that point, like, we just fell off the map. You know what I'm saying? If the Cowboys truly could have ruled the 90s, like, we would hate them and love Tom Brady for actually dethroning the Cowboys. That's how that would have turned.
Yeah. But instead, you have Jerry Jones, who hadn't won a Super Bowl since when? 94?
The 95.
When they beat the Steelers. When Neil O'Donnell threw the perfect
Neil O'Donnell decided to gift wrap Larry Brown. He gift wrapped it, MVP and a trophy to him.
That's right. Yep.
So, man. So, Crago, is it about that time?
Are we ready?
To let people know.
Are we ready? We got 0 comments? Nobody has a guess?
Anybody?
Nope, not on the trivia.
Eric Knowlton, I know you got a guess.
For the Nets, at least.
Yes. All right.
Maybe Eric Knowlton's like me and stopped watching the NBA in the 90s.
Nah, he's a Celtics fan.
I don't know what's going to happen after the NFL season. It's just going to be me sitting here while you guys talk about the NBA. I don't know what's going to – like, I might have to start watching it again or something.
Hey, but the NFL season goes to almost Valentine's Day, right? So we have a little bit of time.
Yep.
All right, so the answers to the trivia questions today, the first one was, who is the only mother-son duo to win a gold medal in the Olympic Games? And the answer to that is Shaqtin' the Fool.
Shaqtin' the Fool.
JaVale McGee and his mother, Pamela McGee. So Pamela won in 1984, and JaVale won in this past Olympics in 2021.
You know what's kind of crazy about that 84 women's team is, we got the 30 for 30 on the 96 team, where that was your precursor to the WNBA being able to form and women having a dream team. But that was really a dream team back then, because you had her and Cheryl Miller and Teresa Edwards and everybody back then as well. So although the funniest thing here is, and we were talking about it pregame here, was nobody really remembered that JaVale McGee was on that team. I mean, we had so many, it was COVID and it was a whole bunch of people just opting out. And so he was on that team. He's more known for Shaqtin' the Fool.
Yep.
I think he's the
The
only
second
person to ever
question
shack the
was,
fool twice, right?
that's right. Exactly. Hey, but I think he's playing tonight as we're making fun of him. You know, he's made a pretty nice little career for himself.
Yeah, yeah. He's
Has
gotten
a
some
couple
rings out of it.
rings,
Yep.
living the good life. So the second question, anybody have an answer for that? Who is the all-time leading scorer for the NBA Nets? So that could be Brooklyn or New Jersey. But these were points that were only scored as a member of the Nets.
You remember, I narrowed it down to two.
You
And
did.
one of them was the one, but that wasn't going to be the first one I would have guessed.
That's right. If you're sitting there right now and you're thinking Buck Williams, you're off by 4 points. 4 points.
Oh no, we knocked Rod over.
Lopez. Brooke Lopez, the current Milwaukee Bucks center.
He was my second guess simply because he was there for like 80 years.
Exactly.
But you remember my first choice, I was thinking Derek Coleman, just because I know he was there the whole time. And
yeah.
But where did you say DC was on the list?
I believe 7th.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had, what was it, 8,000 points?
Yeah, well, it was like almost 7,000 for him.
Or, yeah.
Although I think it's worth it for our listeners to hear who was third on that list.
Third on that list was Vince Carter.
Vince Carter, yeah. Yes.
And he only played there for 5 years, 8,000 points.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just the craziest thing about it. He was third after like 5 years of playing there. He almost, he almost racked up, like you said, 9,000 points almost. So that's crazy.
That just goes to show you that the Nets are much like the Orlando Magic, the minor leagues of the NBA. Yeah. Get good and go elsewhere. Or be good and then go there for a little while, win a championship, Kerry Kittles, Vince Carter, Kenyon Martin, those guys, and then continue your career. Obviously, we all know Vince Carter had his best years with my Orlando Magic. We all know that, right? He was with the Orlando Magic when there were kids saying, "This is the best dunker in NBA history?"
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I mean, it almost felt like he was there for a cup of coffee.
Right. But he could still throw it down, though. I bet he could still dunk. He's, 46? He'll be 46. We graduated the same year of high school. And I guarantee you he can still do a Wimbledon dunk.
He can still get up there.
Yeah.
So the best dunker in NBA history, hands down, was Spud Webb, right? That's what you guys meant earlier. I was talking about
to be 5'7" to be able to catch an alley like that.
Oh man!
Wow.
Look, man, he's an inspiration to kids everywhere, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, because like even if you're a short guy, like you don't have an excuse when he was in the NBA.
Muggsy Bogues,
right?
Muggsy Bogues was 5'2" or 5'3".
Yeah. He
was 5'3". Yeah, I mean, you just you get in your garage with your box jumps and get in there a couple of years.
Get
and
your
hey,
shoes.
you could be Spud Webb.
Get those strength shoes from East Bay.
Yeah,
right.
R.I.P.
I think Muggsy Bogues and Spud Webb was probably using the piece of plywood and the cinder block like I was using, and not the strength shoes from the East Bay catalog like you uppity folks had, Josh.
Not the Pro Wings with the platform on the front.
You mean it wasn't the Reebok pumps? I mean, they didn't pump them up like 50 times, right? That was what elevated them.
Muggsy Bogues probably would have owned a pair of Reebok pumps. I bet
during his time
he would have as a kid. I don't know, like that'd be pretty close, because I'd have to think he was a little older than me. I'd have to think that he probably his teenage years he had to have a pair of those Reebok pumps. Right?
I had some Reebok.
I did too.
Yeah, we all and I mean and I know we all pumped them up and we tried to jump as high as we could.
That's right.
It didn't work.
But who is the most famous NBA player to wear Reebok pumps?
That's a good question. I know. Well, Sean Kemp had Reeboks, but they came out after the pumps. Like we're talking about like 96.
Giving you a hint, Rod.
Okay. Oh yes, D Brown.
Remember he pumped him up before he did that?
That's right.
Oh yeah. Oh, Eric, look
There
at
you
that.
go.
Look at
Oh
that.
man.
There you go.
I mean, that's our Celtics guy too.
What's
those
that?
shoes were great.
He's our Celtics guy. He should definitely know that.
That's
Eric.
right. That's right.
You are proving your fandom on this episode.
That's right. I don't know, y'all. I'm thinking Eric's pretty close to earning a trip onto the show. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, day one, and it's amazing with trivia. Hey, I think so.
One listener hasn't missed the show. Yep.
There you go. We've all even almost missed shows.
That's right. Exactly. Well, I imagine our listeners are starting to fall asleep at this point at 9:53. I know we had some technical difficulties, but why don't you sign us off, Drew?
Because I never sign us off. That's why.
How about you, Rod?
Listen, this is what everybody's waiting for outside of the trivia. That fireside chat with Josh, a.k.a. MC Cray Go.
All right. So, been a great show. Started out by talking about how I fulfilled a lifelong sports dream of visiting Madison Square Garden, and obviously some unbelievable playoff action. Who knows what this weekend holds? But see that there's one person that stuck with us, probably Eric still. So we appreciate all of our listeners. Really a lot of engagement this week. So hopefully we grow that engagement exponentially on our live podcast. And make sure to check us out on TikTok at Culture of Splife, Twitter, Culture of Splife, YouTube, Culture of Splife, Facebook, Culture of Splife, and TikTok, Culture of Splife. Until next time,
don't forget about
y'all.
Instagram.
What's that?
Don't forget about Instagram.
Oh, yeah. And Instagram with 13 followers. Let's get that up to 20 by next week. All right, y'all. We'll see you next week.
Update.